What's up, what's up, what's up? It's your man Chazz Ellis, once again answering the questions that you asked me. I got this question from the ChazzEllisProject.com. Make sure you go to the ChazzEllisProject.com if you want to get a consultation, make a donation, or you can also help pick the next video. This question came from the ChazzEllisProject.com, and it was, what do guys think about fatherless girls? Now, this kind of could be a sensitive topic because some people get upset because it's not your fault if you grew up without a father. So, thinking that somebody may think a certain way about you can cause people to become upset, But I deliver the information and try to help you out with it. And knowing what guys think about fatherless women can kind of help you out a little bit. Now, it's not across the board, but these are some of the general concerns that guys have when dating a girl without a father. Unrealistic expectations, no empathy when it comes to men, and lack of adequate advice. Now, we'll go down those things one at a time. Now, when you grow up without a father, what most women go through is they do have unrealistic expectations of what a man is supposed to do and what a man is supposed to be. Because you got to remember, when you don't have a dad, you don't necessarily have anything to compare it to. Because some of y'all may not have a biological father, but you may have a stepdad or something like that. That doesn't count as somebody who doesn't have a dad. Your grandpa may have raised you, your uncle may have raised. That person is your dad. They don't have to be somebody who has the same DNA or whatever. It could be, if you have somebody that is a male figure in your life that is taking a fatherly role, then you have somebody who is a dad in terms of the level of expectation you have as a man, for a man. So when you don't have that around and you don't have someone taking care of you, you don't have someone giving you a male perspective on things, well, your expectations are really off a lot of times. I mean, it's kind of like your mom may be like, well, see, that's the kind of dude your daddy was. So every time someone does something wrong, a guy does something wrong, you automatically just say, well, he's the worst guy on the planet, just like my daddy was. And he may be a guy you don't even know. But in your mind, what often happens is you take any negative aspect of a guy and you turn it into a thing where you just make it that it means he's all bad. Because you didn't have an opportunity to be around a man and see that men have good points and bad points. Your daddy could have been the best man in the world, but he left his socks on the ground. He burped. He told you to pull his finger and he farted. Stuff like that. These are things that somebody with a dad has already been through, so they ain't really tripping off of it. You realize your dad may have went through financial hardships. He may have gone through all kinds of things. But because he was in your life and he was somebody great to you, you'd see that as being, okay, people have flaws, but they could still be good people. Also, one of the things you run into a problem with is you have unrealistic expectations of what a relationship between a man and a woman is like because you haven't seen one. If your mother doesn't have a husband, then that means that you're not seeing a husband and a wife interact on a daily basis. What you're looking at is television and reading books and things of that nature to tell you how your husband should act if you get one. And of course, that's not going to be right. You're expecting your husband to be perfect. You're expecting your husband to do certain things. And the only way you're going to get a perfect man is if you're married to Jesus Christ. And the only way you can be married to Jesus, I think, is if you got to be a nun. There's like the only brides of Christ. So you got to do that. So you're not going to find a perfect guy. So their problem there is when you don't really have anything to compare it to, like a real relationship, often you get caught up in unrealistic expectations of what a relationship with a man seems like. And guys kind of look at that and they say, well, she doesn't have a dad, so she's probably going to have unrealistic expectations. So what I would tell women to do, because I'm not going to just tell you and not give you a solution, what I would tell women to do is you need to go on a study of men. If your father's still around, even though he wasn't in your life, you should talk to him. Get his side of the story. Kind of understand where he's coming from. I know you might feel like, well, he doesn't deserve that. That's not for him. It's for you. Because what it does is allows you to understand why a guy might leave his family. Not just saying, oh, he's a bad guy, yada, yada, yada. Well, that doesn't help you. To understand why he might do that or what might have happened or how him and your mother might have got together or what they might have been going through and the arguments they might have had, things of that nature, that can help you avoid those things in your relationship. One of the best things our parents can give us is the ability to let us learn from their mistakes. My dad, one of the best things he ever gave me was the ability to learn from his mistakes. He told me, hey man, I did that. You probably don't want to do that. And I learned from that. And just watching your parents and some of the things that they go through. So you want to learn from your father's mistakes by talking to him, having a conversation with him, and just being open-minded, you know, without the judgment and you're a deadbeat and all this kind of, because that's not helping you. So that's something you want to do. And if you don't have your father around, and even if you do, you want to do a study of men. Start talking to guys, not just guys that want to sleep with you and stuff and to tell you whatever you want to hear, but talking to older men and watching people. If you got brothers and cousins and stuff like that, not necessarily asking them what kind of man should I get, but just talking to them about their lives and what they do and what turns them off to a woman and what makes them like a woman. Things of that nature. If you start learning that from them, then it's going to make it more likely for you to be able to kind of mold yourself into the woman that you want to be and the type of woman that's going to attract certain types of guys, the type that you want. So that's things that you might want to look at. Another one is the no empathy. And that goes hand in hand with the unrealistic expectations. Because you didn't have a mother and a father, you never really saw a man struggle. You never saw a man go through certain things. Sometimes that even happens to women who have married fathers and mothers because of the fact that they never really saw a man have to try to see his kids without having the mom with him and all that kind of stuff, and they haven't really seen those struggles. They don't really understand some of the things that a man might go through. And if you didn't have a father at all, you really don't get it. You don't get what a man would struggle with in a relationship. You don't get what a man would struggle with by himself. You just don't really have a clue because you didn't get to see it. And that's rough. So what often happens is you can't really have any empathy for their situation because you just don't get it. It's like the guy's going through something like, well, why can't you just make that work? If you was a real man, you know, and that's because that's your ideal man based on nothing. You know, it's not based on a dude that really exists. It's based on what mommy might have told you a man should be, or what a book might have told you a man should be, or what some dude that was trying to hit it told you a man should be. You know, all this kind of stuff, and it's not based on a real person. One of the good things about having your dad around, and this sometimes affects guys the same way, so one of the good things about having dad around is that you get to see a man in his totality. You get to see him warts and all. You know, all the mistakes that he makes, all the good things that he does, everything. So you have a certain level of empathy for other guys and things that they could be going through. Because you see how hard it was maybe for your father to do certain things, even if he was successful at it. You go, man, he's a really good dude. I don't know if I could do that. So then you have empathy for guys who can't really meet up to that standard. You're not going to have that if you don't see a guy. So a lot of people, you know, a lot of guys feel like, well, if I go through something, she's not going to be able to understand me because she doesn't have a dad. So that's something that you want to do. Once again, you want to get out and talk to men. You want to understand the struggles that men go through because then you can help your man when he's going through that, and you're more valuable in that way. When you see a guy going through something, you can say, oh, I understand what you're going through. Let me see how I can help you. I have a solution, or I can at least be there for you, or we can at least talk about it because I get it. You're one step ahead of anybody. And number 3 was lack of adequate advice. That's a big one. You'd be surprised how many daddies have saved marriages, have saved their daughters' marriages. Period. You would be in shock how many grandpas, daddies have saved daughters' marriages just by telling them something that they wouldn't have known any other way. And because of the fact that their mother is married also, she can give them advice that says, hey, you know, this is how you keep a husband. This is how you keep a father for your children. If your mom you didn't have a dad, that means your mom probably doesn't have, not probably, she really doesn't have that information. Why doesn't she have it? If she had it, she would have used it for herself. The easy way out is to say, well, there ain't no good men out there. Somebody got a husband. It's somebody your mama's age that has a husband. So that means there are good men out there. And there are good people. There are people that was going to stay around and raise their kid. Your mom was unable to pick that person, or even if she may have had that person, she was unable to keep them. Because some of y'all have brothers and sisters who did grow up with their dad and you didn't. This isn't to blame your mom or to down her in any kind of way, but it's just to say that she probably doesn't have that information to give you. And it's not her fault if she gives you bad advice. She's trying to give you what she has. And it's like, you can't get mad at somebody if you say, hey man, how do I fill out this job application? And they go, oh man, you should probably put this, this, and this on there. And then you don't get the job. You're like, man, that's messed up. Why you give me such bad advice? They're like, man, I've been unemployed for 10 years. I ain't filled out a job application in forever. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to come together. This the blind leading the blind. So a lot of times you don't have access to adequate advice because your mom may not have a husband. You didn't have a father. Your aunts don't have husbands. Your family members, people you're friends with, they don't have fathers and they don't have husbands. So a lot of times you just can't really get that good advice. And a lot of guys think, well, if you don't have a dad, there's no source of good advice for you. So that means that you're probably going to get bitter, angry mom advice, bitter, angry friend advice, bitter, angry aunt advice and cousin. And you're going to get this kind of advice, and you're going to get advice from dudes that's trying to smash who are just going to lie to you anyway. So a lot of times guys want to avoid because they feel like you're going to get bad advice. So what you want to do is you want to seek out married couples, and you want to seek out grown-up men. Not men that are trying to smash or whatever. If you have older family members, like older males in your family, seek them out. Like actively pursue them, Try to seek those people out and get help. Say, hey, I'm with somebody. We're trying to make this work. What should I do? This happened. What should I do? And get their perspective on it. And don't get mad. Listen. Even if it goes against everything you've ever heard or everything you believe, you got to remember that was formed by people who probably didn't have a dude. This information is coming to you from somebody who is, maybe 20 years older than you and married. They're probably more likely to be right. And they're of the opposite sex, so they know where that dude is coming from better than you do and better than your mom would. So get that information from people. Go to church. Go to even if you're not religious, I'm saying go to church. Go to counselors. Go to people who can just kind of give you a little bit of advice. But try to find people who try to find grown men who are not trying to hit it. If you can do that, it's going to give you an opportunity to get that advice and get that information. Somebody to tell you, oh, maybe you're wrong in this situation. Somebody who's not afraid to keep it real with you. That's the good thing about dads. Your dad isn't worried about you not liking him anymore or slamming the door in his face or something like that. Because if your dad's like my dad, you're not going to do that. You might think about it, but you ain't going to do that. So your dad can give you a little bit better advice. And that's kind of what guys think a lot of times. Like, okay, she doesn't have anybody to get good advice from. So when we get into it, if she's doing something wrong, no one's going to tell her. And that's kind of what guys worry about. So get that advice. And it shows a guy that when he sees you kind of getting that good advice, and he kind of sees you coming back and say, oh, well, I understand where you're coming from. It kind of dispels a lot of the notions that he would have had that you're going to be somebody who just, can't empathize with his situation. You don't get good advice, and you have unrealistic expectations. He's not going to think that so much when he sees you coming back with like good information that you're getting from other people. So make sure you do those studies of men. Make sure you find people that you can talk to that have what you want, the ideal situation that you want. Even if you got to look them up different places, if you got to go to church, if you got to, whatever you got to do, seek those people out, because this is something you didn't have growing up, and it's something you're probably going to need to be able to have a good, strong relationship. And you got to also remember, you might be dealing with a dude that didn't grow up with a father, and that has his own set of challenges where you might have to empathize with him more than he will himself, and let him under, because he might be running from the specter of a person that he never knew. And what I mean by that is a lot of times they think their father is the worst person in the world because he wasn't around, and they do everything in their power to avoid being like him, and they really just end up being kind of off and, not really taking on any role as a man because they don't know what it means to be one. So make sure that you kind of are sensitive to those things. You get your research done. You find a support system of people who can help you out. Hopefully I was able to help you. Once again, it's your man, Chazz Ellis. Make sure you hit me up on the ChazzEllisProject.com and you can be a part of picking the next video. This video came from the ChazzEllisProject.com. So also you can make your donations. I do appreciate everybody who's done that. You guys keep it going. And also be a part of the discussions that we're having. Your man, Chazz Ellis. Make sure you like and subscribe. Peace.